It's not working here because the SMS in the middle is blocking for type. I clicked in one of the cookies, but it's not.
Wanneer is hij los?
They needed to. It's fixed. I mean, I struggled with the option.
Okay, we are on.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So, I would like to present to you the work I did on the smart gateway stuff. Keep in mind that the deployment we have is highly mobile. So we have fire trucks moving around all the time, and these have a mesh network with each other. So when you move stuff around, connections change and break, and so the applications, some applications can deal with breaking connections, some others cannot. So we have to find a way to sort of make that problem go away, or at least make it smaller. And this is what we did with multi-gateway. Smart gateway. Who knows not what smart gateway is? Please.
Who knows or who doesn't know?
Who doesn't know what smart gateway is? Cool. For you guys then.
Thank you.
The fuck. Suppose you have this. Smart gateway is meant to provide an exit route, so an internet route, to everyone in your mesh. So we have here a big fat route and there a small route, and everyone can access the internet through one of these. But in our deployment, this is moving around. So sometimes we are close to this one, sometimes we're close to that one. The original behavior of Smart Gateway, implemented by Henning and Marcus, I think, right? It was choose the fattest exit link. So that will be, that will be this one. Every time choose it, no matter how far you are.
I think it was the closest one because I
No, there was
at least the original implementation ignored the size of the link completely.
There was a bug. And only choose it when it's when you choose it all the time, basically, and only select it once. So once you select it, you never change it. And
Unless it breaks.
that's kind of killing when you move it around.
So that was the idea.
And we selected even it's unidirectional, so we can send traffic but we cannot receive, or we can only receive but not send. So it was not that smart. Basically it looked like this. You choose every time this one, and you use an IP tunnel to get to the exit link. So I fixed some stuff. So we ignore unidirectional, we ignore unreachable, we choose the nearest exit link. So we use some weighing that you can configure. And we allow continuous selection, etc., etc. And now it looks like this, basically. These nodes, through their weighing, have decided that this is not a good choice, but they rather choose that one because it's closer or whatever. So it's a bit smarter. Okay, but it's still, if stuff moves around, the connections still break, even though we now have a better gateway. So what do we want? We want to employ multiple gateways at the same time. So for example, if I have this gateway, but another one comes into view that is better, I switch to that one, but I don't want to break the connections over the old one. So I keep the old one alive. Basically, we're deferring the problem until later, until the connection really breaks. And now it looks like this. So the green ones, they're newly selected, for example, because this node now moves close enough to be selected. But the connections that went through these tunnels, they're still alive. These tunnels are still alive, the connections don't break. So it's better. And you can configure how many tunnels you want.
Yeah. This is smart gateway. Is smart internet gateway or smart gateway to any other network? I mean, can you use it to access to a /8 network?
Yeah.
I think the standard implementation was just done for the 0/0 root.
It's for the default
Mm.
route.
Default,
Yes.
In theory, the code could be used for something else, but first generation code was done, and no one, I think, said something about it for roughly 1 or 2 years, and so it didn't move that much until Ferry and his group started using it. So yes, in theory it could. No, it cannot at the moment.
And do you think it can be easily extend support this feature?
That depends how you define easily.
I think it will not be very hard, so contact me and talk about it. So now keep in mind that for every node we have in the network, there are some nodes that have multiple methods of uplinking into the internet. For example, we have nodes with 3G, we have nodes with satellite communication, we have nodes with radios, and we have nodes with nothing at all, or any combination of that. So for us, the uplink also can change all the time, depending on what method of communication into the internet we deploy. For example, satellite communication is very expensive, but it will work all the time, even when you're in the middle of the bloody forest. Much smarter, but not smart enough. For example, currently we don't preemptively take the tunnels down. For example, if one of the old tunnels, that node is moving away, the connection becomes very bad, but we currently don't really break it until we don't see the node anymore. So we need to preemptively break that connection before that happens. Because otherwise the traffic will just go down, 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 and things will come to a grinding halt. So it only mitigates the problem. It delays the problem until later. It doesn't solve it. So that's where BRDP comes in. It's an RFC written by my colleague Feiko Boot. It's Border Router Discovery Protocol. So if you think about the picture I showed you, there were 2 border routers, and we now have a protocol that allows every node in the network to dynamically discover these exit routers, these border routers. It's a presentation from Teco, so I'm now going into that presentation. I did not modify it, so please excuse me for any possible mistakes in there. There's a lot of stuff in routing, and some stuff is connected and some stuff is not. And we need to connect a lot of stuff to make this happen. We go a bit into the packet format. We basically start sending out sort of hello messages, like announcements of I'm a border router, with a prefix length, etc., and a metric, and well, you can look in the presentation when I upload it. You can act as a DHCP. You can announce that. We're thinking about an option to also announce DNS. We do forwarding and costs. The interesting stuff is here. Okay, this is one of the standard topologies. Suppose this network. We have one edge router, it's this one. So how does the protocol work? You get a prefix from your ISP. The border router receives that. So what do we now do? We announce that we're a border router on every network we have attached. So it will also be received by this internal router. So the red networks are from this one, and the purple networks are from this one. So you see an overlap. That can exist. There's no problem. IP6 will just support that.
Could there be one purple network missing? The subnet F should also have.
Yeah,
purple.
okay. So when this router receives the announcement from this side or that side, it just rebroadcasts, does his own announcements as well. And for MANETs, we need to retransmit on those interfaces as well, because there might be some nodes that have not seen it. Okay, it's complicated. A lot of stuff here. Okay, because of the prefix, you can also always find the relevant node to transmit to. That's basically the message.
One comment. I talked with Tico about this. Most likely in a mesh case, we would not run this protocol for every hop, but we would somehow encapsulate the packet and something, send it through the whole network, because it doesn't make sense to have a mesh routing protocol and then have BRDP trying to figure out how to be gateway for every hop. So you somehow must at least have some connection to the routing protocol, or at least a mechanism to have a net-wide distribution of these messages.
Okay, this is independent of what routing protocol, whatever you're running. So you could be Batman, or you could be OSR, or you could be OSPF, or whatever. It's just a method to detect your border routers. Okay, so here's an example of a transfer from this one to that one. It's basically straightforward, like it always has been. Outside, same thing. It's just forwarding. Now we go into the interesting case for what we actually want to have this. It's multiple exit routes, so for multipath. Works the same as before. Everyone announces that he's a border router. And you have nodes that get addresses from this one gets an address from that one, this one gets an address from both, because this one supports multipath. Okay, suppose now this has an address from that one, but by accident it sends it here. This one just forwards it there, and because these routers interoperate, they see each other's announcements. And here is multipath. This is what we actually want, what I talked to you about. Suppose these are OSR nodes, they're moving around. If we have multipath and this one moves out of range, we still have the connection running through this path. So we just pick it up here, and we open probably another connection over another node to have a backup link again. So this is the interesting case. Multipath is not useful if you have a single exit router, because then you don't have multipath, you have two paths over the same router. It's different. So for us, this will solve the breaking connection stuff. when we have connections to outside of the network. Inside of the network, we also need to support multipath TCP, but that's a bit more easy because here we have to put many pieces of the puzzle in place with routers announcing and multipath stacks. So if you have OSR network only, you can put in a multipath TCP stack, and you need probably to adjust your application to actually use that, but then you're almost ready to go. This is a bit more work. So if you look in this picture, you will probably see a lot of parallels with the multi-smart gateway. Actually, if we have BRDP, we can throw away, to some extent, smart gateway. And if we're able to implement BRDP not in OSR or backend or whatever, but outside of it, for example, DNS mask, it will be a win-win for everyone. So we think with BRDP we can add stuff that will benefit everyone. We still have to think a lot of how to actually do this stuff. So it's an RFC, and the RFC is even expired. We need to update it, but I wanted to present this work because it's on the path for us to solving the breaking connection stuff. This is one of the pieces. The next piece is multipath TCP, and then we have more solved. So
we might also need to talk about the interface. If you need to get awareness from the routing protocol, how far away in a mesh the exit nodes are, there needs to be some standardized interface to the BRDP.
It's one of the issues, and one of the other issues for me is that there's a uniform metric in there. I want to split for uplink and downlink, so I want two metrics in there because that's really relevant to mesh networks. So it's a thing that's under construction, and it's on our path to multipath. Thank you for your attention. Any questions?
So I suppose there is no network here.
And, I think it's Severio.
Of course not.
No, I was just not 100%, so I was asking him to advise me. Anyway, by the way, the question was if you're not in mobility, it's not really recommended to implement it. It's more recommended if you're in mobility, this BRDP.
No, it's not really linked to mobility. It's just that you bring a bit more resilience into your network by doing this. So this can be static as well.
Okay.
Actually, this RFC is in the HomeNet group, and that's really static setups. But you can apply it to mobility, no problem. It's just a method of announcing exit links, the same thing that Smart Gateway does.
Okay.
Only it's not useful if you have a single exit route. You need multiple exit routes to be effective. Otherwise you will just load your link unnecessarily.
So when you communicate to some server somewhere on the internet, you send two packages on two routes by default?
No, you use one connection by default and the other one as a backup connection. But that's configurable. That's what you tell the multipath TCP stack to do. You can have it round robin, you can have it primary, secondary, it's in multipath TCP.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have two fiber links here, you will probably want to bundle them. If you have a satellite link here, like we have, and 3G, you will probably choose 3G with the satellite as backup.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our use case. Here is satellite, here is 3G, there is radio, there is something else. We have a whole battery of uplinks.
Maybe in our case, there's someone with the VDSL 50 megabits uplink line and someone else who has the ISDN line, and or a smaller DSL uplink.
Yeah. Does that answer the question?
What about the other way? How does an internet host know when to send to A3?
Exactly. That's this problem. That's multipath
Du willst das
problem.
Handy oder wie?
The host on the internet needs to support multipath.
Okay.
That's one of the issues why multipath is in the future. Because you
Handy?
need to modify every host.
Aber das ist jetzt nicht an. Ich bin oft ins Display gekommen.
Sorry, there was
If it's using home screen.
about multipath.
Yes.
Wo ist das?
It was an article for that's on the Linux server news site.
LWN.
But I posted the link on I don't know. I can also send on the mail I think maybe everybody. Don't have it?
Dann stellen wir da hin, wieso
I can send a video if you want.
Multipath is only now becoming more mature and more ready to be in the upstream kernel. It was an out-of-tree patch for a very long time. Yeah, it still is, but it's getting more ready. They're thinking now about integrating into upstream, but thank you.
Das Handy.
How are you doing?
Oh, right now I'm tired.
Thank you.
I do this job I went into is like
I will upload the
it's okay. It's an okay job, but it's just very management structure.
Yeah.
Something with we have to make some plans, but it's really important not to know what's out there before we make the plans and make a description of how to implement everything.
Do everything in isolation from the outside world.
As long as the vocabulary fits with the project management system embedded in ITIL, or Prince 2.
Yeah.
So, it's okay. I can't complain. And you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Busy with lots of projects as usual. Trying to push some clue into Qualcomm Atheros. The whole 11AC driver that they're working on is going to be a complete mess, and I'm thinking about how to throw it all over and get them to move to a different plan. It has a much better success probability.
Yeah.
But it's going well enough, and at least I see that people really do listen to me, at least the ones that are involved with the open source work. It's just a matter of finding the right strategy to convince management, to convince marketing, because the problem is marketing controls engineering resources. And that wreaks all kinds of havoc there.
Yeah. It's the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
It's like, I don't know. The scale changes.
Yes.
And in certain situations, in certain contexts it gets more complex. But in other, the majority of it's just the same again and again and again. And
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
it keeps getting bigger and it stays fun, so it's fun.
yeah.
I was like, okay,
Now it's 20 euros.
yes.
And with it, they're also working on getting them to at some point start paying me not for actual code but for consulting.
That sounds scary. Is SSH closed down? Or?
Like 30 minutes later,
Not that I
they
know.
invoices 10 euro each. So.
Works well here. So
Yeah.
my
I
session
don't
has
seem
been
to.
up for a few days now because I use Mush.
What do you use?
Mush, M-O-S-H.
Mush?
Yeah, you
Mobile
can-
shell.
Mobile shell. It's like it uses SSH for the initial connection, but then it only uses UDP with a separate encryption for the follow-up session, and it's resistant against IP changes, suspending your laptop for a few hours and all that, and high latency networks. It does some kind of state synchronization with a terminal window between the remote side and the local side. So it does, if there's some packet loss or some latency, it takes a local echo so you can still type, and makes it just much more convenient to work with in networks where there's flaky connections.
Yeah.
And you can just suspend your laptop and open it back up in some other place with a completely different network, and your session is still alive.
Interesting.
And that's why we will not have at the moment smart gateway with other HMAs. Again, when you can smart gateway with different features, you can default gateway. That's one thing. The point is, people ask about the smart gateway feature. They said it will be integrated in traffic way. You don't want to break everything again. And in HMA there's no byte left for idea. So I would say when you have zero gateway, when you have zero, all the others only look at the first byte with the network because the network are not zero. No, when you have the rest of 3 bytes, you don't know what kind of gateway you are.
Yes, sir, is Mirko here?
And you can of course
Yours here. Sitting over there. At his laptop.
only zero
Yeah.
gateway.
Anybody else?
No.
That's it, okay. I was expecting Mirko here, but
I have no idea. I think he had something else to do with it.
That's one of the reasons why I think it's very original too. You know, there were two value data, but I need some recommendation we care for this kind of when we have an outbreak.
There's no... okay.
Only for you. So we have this one that is very complicated.
Yeah, that would be like my house. Well, mine is yeah, he's a button.
Google verbietet den Weiterverkauf von Google Glass. Sie haben sich in ihren Nutzungsbedingungen vorgehalten, wenn sie feststellen, dass jemand anderes das Gerät benutzt, dann können sie es löschen. Also zerstören aus der Ferne.
Naja, das sind die Developer-Geräte, die sie ausgegeben haben.
Okay.
Wenn du jetzt siehst, dass eins von den Dingern momentan für, ich glaube, über 90.000 Euro oder Dollar auf eBay angeboten wird.
Ja.
Nee, wird es, also das stimmt jetzt nicht ganz. Jemand hat es auf eBay zur Versteigerung angeboten und der Preis stieg bis auf 90.000 Dollar. Er hat das Angebot zurückgezogen. Ich nehme von den Nutzungsbedingungen erfahren. Aber es ist erstaunlich, dass die... Ich gebe dir was, aber ich schreibe dir vor, was du damit tust. Ansonsten machst du es in deiner Hand kaputt.
Naja, für Hardware würde ich vorher, vor dem eigentlichen Verkauf an Developer rausgehen, ist das nicht unüblich. Wenn sie definitiv nicht machen können für die Seriengeräte, aber wenn du eine limitierte Prototyp Pre-Production, bei der du, ich weiß nicht, wie viel wenig davon produzierst, die du rausgeben willst, kann ich mir vorstellen, dass du das reinschreibst. Übrigens, die meisten Firmen machen gar keinen so einen externen Test.
In den USA drohen jetzt 5 Jahre Gefängnis oder 500.000 Dollar Strafe, wenn man ein Gefängnis, wenn man einen Telefon von seinem SIM-Log befreit.
Ja, das ist derart krank. Und da musst du nicht unterschreiben, irgendetwas wegen der Geschichte. Das ist einfach nur, dass es dann irgendwo über ihre Computerkriminalität und Hacking-Geschichten wird.
Das ist ja dann Computerkriminalität, wenn ich dein Gerät entsperre.
Du bist ein Krimineller. Jetzt an dies, dann Wireless Routers.
Ja. Mensch, Gregers, du bist jemand, dem finde ich das nicht gerne.
Gehen aus.
Ich habe angefangen, ein E-Book zu machen. Ist noch nicht perfekt. Ist irgendwie immer bei den Umlauten macht der Konverter immer so eine Pause. 6 Lügen und Selbstgespräche.
Ja. Mit einem
Das geht. Funktioniert schon. Das ist richtig.
Lass uns das mal mit meinem
Also ich bin besonders stolz auf das Vorwort.
Musst du auf jeden Fall
keine Ahnung.
Was muss er?
Es sind noch ein paar Fehler drin.
So, jetzt, ja. Ja, pass auf, da gehe ich in den Paarungsmodus.
Den Paarungsmodus.
Du hoffst, das ist ein kleines Moment, ich nehme Stellung ein.
Das ist im Paarungsmodus.
Moment. Selbst wenn er gesagt hätte, man sein Handy in den Paarungsmodus, versucht dann irgendwo neuere, kleinere Modelle zu finden.
Sennheiser, genau.
Der Kopfhörer zeigt schon das Paarungssignal.
Der Kopfhörer zeigt Paarungsbereitschaft.
Jetzt haben wir es als Mikrofon genommen. Schon. Ich kann schon einfach mal. Kann schon mal so mach mal eine Aufnahme und steh mal hin und sprech dann mal. Ja, du kannst noch warten, ich warte mal noch kurz. Okay.
este rango lo que traería, o sea, lo que yo te trajo en realidad. No, pero no te importa, porque ya no te la predicción, te lo metí en tu repo. Sí, pero igual ya estabas así, con el repo remoto, había tenido commits que vos simplemente no encontraste. Ahora ya implementado un repo. Es como el nuevo sistema. Como el nuevo sistema. Te trajo commits. Te trajo commits. Es como el Rusia, en vez de un in y después un pull que te trae la información, tiene el mismo de la cantidad de veces, revisás la producción. Hay cosas de git log, de git log. Ahí tenés tu git. Y ahora git merge, ¿puede ser git pull? No, pues git merge origin. Y aparte de la porque son diferentes comentarios.
Antonio,
Pero la comitee
wenn du nicht mehr weiter weißt, wird deine Arbeit. You just need just one page or anything else.
Yes, they are. For example, for Ah, du machst jetzt eine Aufnahme. Wahrscheinlich mit Ton, oder was? Der Witz ist, dass man sozusagen meine Stimme ja dann sehr deutlich hören müsste, wenn alles stimmt. Ansonsten ist es nur so ein Output raus. Und der hat eine super Kamerahalterung.
Ach so, entsprechend die
Was die?
Das war, schau her.
Läuft noch über das Mikro.
Was hast du?
Läuft noch über das Mikro, ja.
Dann, warte mal. Kann ich ja nicht sagen. Auf jeden Fall sozusagen die Kamera hier reinstellen und dann mit dem Gummischnäppchen festmachen.
Cool.
That can be an error.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Naja, das ist Aufnahme von Aufnahme von Aufnahme. Und eben mit ein paar Sekunden Delay. Yeah, a little bit.
But wait, anyway.
The delay has to be.
Hey, it's almost real time, come on.
NASA would be happy about something like this. Sometimes. What's the delay to the Mars rover when it comes back beyond the sun? 15 minutes or something like this? Curiosity und Hier ist momentan, momentan auf der anderen Seite der Sonne. Also sind, es müssen dann 17, 18 Minuten sein. Ja, Minuten. Nee, Minuten. Ja, genau. Weil 17,5 Minuten von uns bis zur Sonne, knapp an der Sonne vorbei, dann haben wir uns zum Mars.
So it's not the same. So our policy is to block everything. Like block everything.
Wo sehe ich denn, was überhaupt da los ist mit dem Headset-Ding?
But I mean, what is this about? Because it's working on.
Yeah, we are trying to do it.
Hast du ein Android eigentlich? Ja.
Because the DNS.
Na, bist du da mal hier rein? Ich bin ja mal echt völlig. Bin dann ja iPhone geschildert. Es gibt übrigens jetzt eine aktuelle GOPR.
I don't know, you know.
Aber da muss ich sogar die Notes und vielleicht habe ich noch eine Nummer haben oder so. Das gucke ich gleich mal an.
Yeah, but I don't know. But yeah, this is
Auf der Ecke da hinten aus, oder? Weil das waren nicht viele Geräte. Ja, dann müsste das hier so was mir generell an der GoPro nicht gefällt, dass ja selbst wenn du symmetrische Entwicklung ja, dass ja beide Teile zeigen. Ja, das haben wir nie so gemacht. Ja.
Verdoppelt einfach die Anzahl der Pfeile.
Das reicht ja normal X-Wert, so. Braucht man nicht 11 Coin. Kann interessant sein, da muss total auseinandergehen, aber im meisten Fällen reicht es halt nicht.
Wie Sie sehen,
völlig verwirrend.
Naja, unten geht's.
ja,
Oder? Ist doch, hier ist doch nicht schlecht, ja?
sind das LQ und N? Ne, das kann kein LQ sein. Das sind die beiden ETX-Werte. Der ETX-Wert von der einen und von der anderen Seite gesehen. 6,7 und 9,0.
Stimmt, ähnlich sind sie alle, ne?
Ja, außerdem eben recht schlecht, weil dann wird es irgendwann da 5,3 und 11,6.
Wir zeichnen das sogar von der oben bis hier, der geht hier und zurück zum gar nicht.
Ja, das Grab-Layout von dem Tool ist auch nicht ganz perfekt, aber es ist auch ein nicht ganz so einfaches Problem. Oder gibt es einen doppelten 1,0-Link? Da in der rechten Seite von dem ganz unten, also nicht dem rechts unten, sondern dem unten nach da oben, von der gerade oben geht. Das sind zwei 1,0-Links raus. Ja, man sollte einen Filter über sowas legen, irgendwo alles erstmal.
Ja, vielleicht haben wir das ja gemacht. Wir nehmen jetzt mal die HNAs raus, damit das so übersichtlich wird. Und ich glaube, das Telefon einfach noch fehlt. Ja,
Yeah, that's the idea.
That free
Okay, but if I want to limit there, I have to activate button here. Right?
Huh?
I have to activate button here. So this is a button.
Or,
That was it here.
yeah, or, yeah. Pero dígame, ¿qué estás haciendo?
No, quería probar una cosilla.
What catches it then? Yeah, right. Exactly, but the idea is that
Schnauzer? Schnauzer. Schnauzer.
easy way to one key for Milan. There is no
testing network.
I say by him, yes? Can you ping some IP or is it for the whole network?
What?
Is it dual? Can we use the network we have?
We are going to upgrade all the nodes. And then after that we will be able to use
Ich tue es.
This is by OSR.
Schweden.
Du auch? Ja, ich weiß, tun alle. Das steht doch da, oder?
Ja.
Aber, Gregor, wenn dein IQ 140 ist und du stellst dir ein sprechendes inneres Wesen vor, als Denkprozess in deinem Kopf, das dich durch dein Leben begleitet, wie hoch ist der IQ dieses inneren Wesens?
280. Mindestens. Oder? Oder prima? Oder?
Im Quadrat.
Ja. Was weiß ich. Muss das sein? 280. Zweimal?
Zweimal du?
Doch.
280.
Ja.
Viermal du?
Nee, durch die Kommunikation ist es dann mehr als die Summe der Einzelteile.
Genau. Link to localhost established.
Was hat er gesagt? Sie müssen nochmal alle neu werden? Ja. Und bis dahin kommen wir gar nicht.
Elektra, Habitables minus groß I Input minus klein I LO minus J Drop.
Genau. Genau, diese Regel würde ich gerne implantieren.
Da war heute Morgen auch etwas, was ich muss mal raussuchen. Das wird dir gefallen, das Bild. Es passt zumindest zu der Diskussion, die wir geführt haben. Ja. Das ist schon
Hello Cat, where are you?
Nee.
Soup? Nee.
Alexa?
The other guy, not that guy, the other guy.
Kannst du mir den Link schicken?
Okay, die gehen jetzt raus.
Danke.
Weil ich dachte mir, als ich das heute Morgen durch meinen Google Plus Ticker laufen sehe, dachte ich so, okay, das muss ich nachher extra zeigen.
Spot on.
SE80 ist doch eine Link-Local-Adresse. Da muss man mit Prozent welches Interface machen. Link-Local-Adressen sind im Kontext von Prozent irgendwas. Ja? Weil SE80-Adressen Link-Local sind nur im Kontext, also ein Interface. Sonst weiß er nicht, wo er es hinschicken soll. Oh, er bietet mir an, dich zu Google Mail einzuladen. Das jedes Mal tun. In der Hinsicht ist Google recht
Penetrant.
würde man an der Stelle wirklich, wobei ich glaube auch, nee, ich glaube, er macht das nicht, ich kenne eine ganze Reihe Leute, denen ich häufiger Mails schicke, die nicht auf Google Plus sind, auf Google. Und ich glaube, er macht das nur irgendwo so beim ersten oder zweiten Mal und dann ist man ganze Zeit nicht mehr. Aber so ein, zwei Mal macht das auf jeden Fall, aber wenn du mit jemandem mal wieder nach langer Zeit E-Mail kommst. Genau, auf demselben Interface. Die ich aber auch eigentlich erreichen kann. Mache ich hier auch 100% wenn ich jetzt eine würde ich also sagen, naja, hoffentlich hat dann die Applikation dann eben nicht auf dem Interface stehen, oder auch mit dem Prozent klarkommen, weil das Prozent ist ein gültiger Teil der IP-Prozess-Zahl.
Wobei das ist
Ding heißt Mesh S3D.
Wo gibt es da einen Parameter, um Ihr Interface zu definieren? Genau.
Nee, natürlich nicht.
Ja, das ist vermutlich, das kann ich eventuell nicht mal so weg. Wenn es geht Host by Name aufruft, geht Host by Name sofort kein IP weg.
Könnte ich höchstens also der SSH-Pop-Forwarding auf meinen
Ja, könnten über einen SSH einen Tunnel machen, der von Localhost ganz die andere Seite geht und der über ein IPv6 SSH geführt wird.
Ach, diese Juden. Das sind Batman-Leute. Die muss ich mal draufhauen. Zack. Wie machen wir das eigentlich mit der Nachrichtsaufnahme?
Wir haben ja noch 2 Pizzen.
Aber mach doch nur jetzt ich wollte da noch einlassen, hier das Schwerste.
Weil wir standen gestern an der Stelle. Auch wenn die alle sagen, die neu sprechen, dann scheint es auch nicht zu funktionieren.
Das Netz selber geht ja. Aber
von Zeit zu Zeit gehen gewisse Werte offline, weil sie alle noch gestellt werden.
Ja, aber mich würde auch mal interessieren, wie man das jetzt macht. Du kriegst das auch an, ja, das heißt, wir müssen uns hier eine Not merken, oder was?
ich gucke jetzt einfach
Ja, aber da wird, wenn du das hast, die Routine wird das total trotzdem. Aber ich glaube, die sind versteckt. Wenn du das hinkriegst, versteckt die.
ja klar.
We are not really able to do anything.
List, table,
That's why all the protocols are
I'm not saying das wird zeigen.
Macht ihr jetzt noch einen Pipe More dahinter?
Okay, ja.
Das ist die
Multicard.
Geht auch was am Anfang.
Og jeg pølede rundt herude, men det var ikke til lille...
Hvor har du taget nogle skilte op på væggen?
Det skulle jeg nok have sat op, så det ud ved motorvejen.
Ja, das ist einfach nur die Ecke, wo du Ich sehe ein bisschen mehr. So ganz scharf abgetrennt.
Så er ude i det der hackerspace i aften.
Jo, desværre.
Jeg ringer hvor er det?
Inden man så bare kører minusvejen og bort til. Ja, bort til forbi.
Ja, men jeg finder ud af det.
Har 9.dk. Okay.
Manchmal verstehe ich noch ein bisschen was vom Ding. Aber es ist schon ziemlich lange her bei mir. Schon fast 20 Jahre.
Individual invented licensing service for proprietary software is really stupid.
Yeah.